Hey, check it, y'all. Guess who's immortal? But how immortal? What's up, guys? Pencil here, and here we are to do a discussion on which characters within the world of Jujutsu Kaisen could properly execute the mad gambler, the restless gambler, the beast of Jujutsu, Mr. I never end on a loss and the house always wins, Hakari Kinji. Who can actually get him up out of here? Specifically in the 4 minutes and 11 seconds stage. Don't get me wrong, I could very easily name a whole bunch of characters who could casually execute base Hakari. But base Hakari doesn't have any RCT, it is a limited CE pool, all that. Like, obviously, there are a bunch of characters who would load at base Hakari. But the real question is, who can get rid of the immortal man while he's actually immortal for the 4 minutes and 11 seconds? So let's not waste any more time and let's hop right into it. What's up, guys? Pencil here. Fun fact, I have it on me, and I keep it on me at all times. And fun fact, Hakari doesn't in fact have it on him. He doesn't in fact keep it on him, because he's got it built in. So he doesn't need to keep anything on him. It's kept inside him. Can I make a joke there? I think there's a joke there. I won't make the joke there, though. But yes, Hakari Kinji is typically immortal for 4 minutes and 11 seconds. And typically, once he starts to get on a good flow with his immortality, sometimes that immortality can happen pretty much instantaneously. Like, we see specifically in the Kashimo fight that after having a whole section of him torn out, literally falling the second he opens domain, right as he's about to hit the ground and possibly perish, he immediately pops back up and is immortal. So, like, broken lasts for a hot minute. But, obviously, 4 minutes and 11 seconds and immortality sounds nice. Sounds real good. Sounds almost impervious and indestructible. But is it actually? Who can actually take him out? If anyone. Can anyone properly take him out? There's unfortunately... I mean, actually, no. We'll talk about this character anyway in a bit. But I do want to talk about a couple characters who I simply don't think they can do it as of right now. Anyone grade 1 or lower. That includes your Kusakabes, that includes your Miwas, that includes your Momos, that includes your Pandas. Yeah, that includes your Inumakis, that includes pretty much anyone you can really think of that is not special grade, or at least special grade cursed tier. It's highly unlikely they would be able to do anything to Jackpot Hakari, simply because A, his raw bulk would be way too good. Remember, even base Hakari, if you think Jackpot does nothing at all for Hakari stats, even though that's really proven incorrect, at least in my opinion, by the Kashimo fight. Even if you think Jackpot does absolutely nothing for his base stats, Hakari scales being generous to Yuji relative to fully healed Demon God Yuji, who is well above grade. Well, super duper high grade 1. Because remember, this same post Shibuya fully healed Demon God Yuji with no cursed energy control is already grade 1, equal to a character like Kiguruma, who is stated to be a grade 1 sorcerer, or at least the level of a grade 1 sorcerer. So Hakari is able to casually style on a high grade 1 level fighters in base. Then you make him immortal. Yeah, I don't see anyone doing anything to him if they're grade 1 or below. This includes things like Bird Strike, which I know sounds crazy because no one except for Satoru Gojo has survived Bird Strike. Whoa, well, legend. Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, like, maybe a Bird Strike to the head? But maybe? I don't know. Would it do him in if it was a Bird Strike straight to the dome piece? Because, like, it took a big old chunk straight out that smallpox deity. It did do that. It did do that for real. So I'm not, maybe that would be enough to, like, get Broski up out of here. But I'm not even really sure about all that, if he even got hit by Bird Strike. But once again, we're going to assume in this scenario that the immortal Hakari Kinji is just standing there, menacingly. Actually, no, he's dancing. He's breaking it down. And it's the job of the characters we're assigning to just simply try and execute him while he is immortal. His immortality will constantly refresh, and characters will not be able to attack him unless he's immortal. And with that being the case, I really just don't see May being able to do it. Even with Bird Strike, I think the bird may actually break against I mean, I don't know. Those crows were keeping up with Sukuna and Gojo. So maybe a bird strike from one of them birds would take him out. You know what? Can he heal that off? Am I actually building a case for a bird strike? Because the thing is, it has no. Its limit is simultaneously so high, but its floor is simultaneously so low that we really have no standard. I have no idea. I'm about to gas up bird. Why am I taking so long on bird strike? It's just because it took out such a big chunk of that thing's head. But if you think Hakari's more durable than Yuta, bird strike's not getting rid of him. If you think that, I tend to think that because Yuta says he's stronger when on a roll, and on a roll, at least to me, implies Jackpot Hakari. A lot of people don't like that statement. So if you think Jackpot Hakari is the least durable, we'll give one. I know people are already not going to like this, and even I kind of don't like it. We'll give one grade 1 the ability to get rid of Hakari Kinji, and that would be Mei with a bird strike. That is it. Kusakabe tries to slice his dome piece right off. Ooh, it does absolutely nothing. It just does absolutely nothing. He would probably break his sword against Hakari's neck. That's how durable he is. Panda, don't even make me go over that. I legit think, due to Hakari Kinji having infinite cursed energy, if Inumaki were to try to tell him to do something, Inumaki's throat would just straight up explode. I know Hakari does not actually have full control over the infinite cursed energy, but his ears are probably subconsciously guarded anyway, because there's just so much RCT. Well, not so much RCT. So much CT that nothing that Inumaki would do would actually work. Same thing with Miwa, same thing with Momo, same thing with any grade 1 or lower character. We'll just give it to Mei because she got a moment in the recent episode. The next tier of characters who kind of can't really do anything, at least in my opinion, are the disaster curses, with one exception. And you may be like, huh? And you may be like, Pencil, do you mean to tell me that you think if Jogo, with Hakari Kinji just standing there, were to throw a maximum meteor at max velocity at bro's dome piece, he would live? Am I saying that? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe Jogo can do it. I'm giving credit to characters who I didn't actually think could do it. But maybe. That's a real question. Because I don't think Hakari is more durable than 15-finger Sukuna. And Sukuna doesn't disagree when Jogo says, oh, that would have damaged Sukuna if it had hit. And that's a big old rock. That's a real big old rock. Especially if Jogo throws it specifically at Akari's head. I know it's gonna sound so weird, but picture the image. Let's say this fist right here is Hakari, and then I have nothing small enough that could replicate Hakari's head. Well, actually, say this is Hakari's body, this is Hakari's head. Say Jogo aims maximum meteor so perfectly that it just takes. I was afraid of that happening. That just takes off Hakari's head. Maybe Maximum Meteor could do it. Because if it can damage 15-finger Sukuna, and again, damage is so vague. We've seen characters take damage as in scratches. We've also seen damage as in, decapitation. So, consider this me being nice to Jogo. Let's say Jogo can do it too. I'm giving credit to so many characters who I feel should not be able to do it. Hanami's kind of weird. I think due to the fact that his cursed energy is infinite, the blood draining thing wouldn't work. So, they would probably just... maybe Hakari would just perish that way. But, I don't see him actually, executing Hakari. If Hakari's just consistently immortal, he would just keep feeding the buds and it would probably even overwhelm Hanami. We don't know Hanami's domain expansion. The massive laser that Hanami was about to fire may be able to do something. But once again, we don't know the potency of it. We don't know if it's stronger than anything that Hakari can tank. So, I'm not giving it to Hanami. I refuse to. Dagon... he could drown Hakari, I guess. I suppose. Who knows? Maybe his body would just automatically RCT produce oxygen or something. But I don't think even Horizon the Captivating Skanda would work. Because if characters as, I don't want to say frail, as base Nanami and characters like Naobito can survive for a relatively extended period of time within Horizon the Captivating Skanda, the literal Immortal Hakari would probably just have the attacks bounce off of him. We never seen sure hits do literal 0 damage, but I think Hakari scales well enough above Hanami that even their domain expansion probably wouldn't work out all too well. Heaven forbid Hakari actually starts fighting back after getting a little bit annoyed. So those are the 3 disaster curses. Jogo may be able to take his head off with a maximum meteor, and presumably we're under the assumption that removing Hakari's head would actually get rid of him. Like, if one were strong enough to take a blade and just Hakari's head, maybe it would work. Because we see that Hakari does actually get concerned when Kashimo bolts his brain. Like, if Hakari was maybe getting his whole head knocked off or fully removed, it seems like that may be enough to actually get rid of him, considering he was actually a bit scared of Kashimo firing the bolt that simply pierced him and was about to detonate his brain. So if something were more instantaneous, just a clean swing through and it absolutely knocked his head off his shoulders, I'm assuming that's enough to get rid of the Immortal Man. I don't see Hakari regenerating from a head, or like his body regenerating a brain or anything like that. Because RCT, even if it's automatic, specifically comes from the head. That's what Kashimo notes. And it seems like Hakari agrees in the fear that he feels when the bolt's about to pierce his dome piece. So Jogo may get it. I don't think Hanami can, unless you want to just slop off the laser. And I think Dagon doesn't at all. I don't think he stands a chance. Mahito's weird. Because maybe Idol Transfiguration works, but maybe since Hakari has so much cursed energy flowing through him that it does nothing. Like, absolutely nothing. Like, he may not even be able to touch Hakari. Like, if Nanami, admittedly, a high grade 1, he was able to resist Mahito's touches, and 40% Mahito doesn't believe he can one-tap Todo, and we see Todo in domain is able to, like, just chop off his hand. I mean, then again, Mahito could just open domain and sit there and try to, like, dismantle Hakari if Hakari's not fighting back. So, maybe. Mahito's a maybe. Mahito's a very big maybe. I'm not all too sure about Mahito. Mahito's kind of weird, just because of how his thing works. Maybe you argue Hakari has infinite cursed energy and thusly his soul is surrounded by this infinite veil, making it basically impossible for Mahito to soul manipulate him. Or you argue Mahito's soul manipulation with enough touches, enough taps, maybe 2 hands, he grows more hands from his size 3 hands, and then he grows more hands from his size 6 hands, he just grabs Hakari a whole bunch. Then maybe he can disfigure him to the point where Hakari just automatically perishes from lacking a proper body structure. So, we'll give it to Mahito, mainly because I don't want to give it to Jogo and not give it to Mahito. But then we're heading into an echelon of characters who may actually be able to get our boy up out of here, if you know what I'm talking about. I don't think Yuji can. I don't think Yuji's strong enough to just knock, even after his liberated boost, I don't think he's strong enough to just knock Hakari's head off. Like I don't believe Maki is, and at least in my opinion, Maki and by proxy Toji are still physically superior to Yuji just based on their interactions against 15-Finger Maguna, and how Yuji was playing catch-up for the most part that entire fight, and how Sukuna did have to worry more about Maki, and even at the end of the fight says, yeah, actually paying attention to the girl was a better idea. So I do think even liberated Yuji, not enough to just one-tap Akari's brain, or one-tap Akari's head off. I think he would try to punch him a whole bunch, throw him around, slam a building on him, all that. And Akari would be like, he would still just keep dancing. I don't think Yuji's got it just yet. But speaking of Maki and Toji, they are arguably like the hardest and worst counter to Hakari. Because one of the biggest selling points for Hakari is his bulk. Like the raw bulk that he has by having infinite cursed energy, having a solid physical base. And even if you don't believe that, him just being immortal, right? It's real nice. All that extra... They have the... If there is one weapon from Jujutsu Kaisen 1, I think it would be the Soul Split Katana. I don't really care for Inverted Spear of Heaven. Or any other weapon. Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't really have many cool weapons. But consider this a Soul Split Katana. Here's what would happen if Maki or Toji were to attempt to attack Hakari Kinji. Say Toji in particular, right? Let's say he starts off. He's like, you know what? Let's have a little fun. This is my job. I get a smooth 100 bands if I execute this Immortal Man. Let's see what I can do. He tries to poke Hakari with the Inverted Spear of Heaven. It may just break Like, once again, Hakari should be super durable, and Toji's striking force is kind of weird. But maybe it pierces Hakari, but it's not going to be able to do much. Even if he just gets Hakari straight in the head. That was very scary. He tries to get Hakari straight in the dome piece. I don't think it's going to really do too much. Like, it's not enough. And I think Hakari would heal fast enough if Toji were to try and take the inverted spear and just go straight for Hakari's neck. But they do have the other weapon that would probably just bully Hakari. I hate to say it. I hate to put it like that. But if Hakari just stands there and they're like, I likely cannot punch your dome piece off, they can probably just a clean swing straight across the neck, because there would be no resistance. Remember, the way Soul Split Katana works is that it ignores all of your external durability. Any bit of external bulk you have is rendered irrelevant. You just get slashed. And thusly, whatever bulk Hakari has while in Jackpot is absolutely irrelevant, as his head would be removed. And once again, I don't believe he can regenerate from just his head. Maybe he can. Maybe we'll see him do that in his upcoming battles. But until proven otherwise, considering the fear he had of his head simply being detonated, not to talk of his head actually being properly removed, both Maki and Toji with the Soul Split Katana have just the right tool to the head straight off. So I do think ultimately they're in a good enough spot where they could do it. Another character who may actually struggle to do it, which seems weird. I know it's going to seem super duper weird. I think Earl would actually have a pretty hard time doing it, mainly because of how her ability works. Thin Icebreaker does shatter space. It does do a lot of damage. We see it sends characters as bulky as Yuta Akutsu flying with impacts, and it's able to shatter Yuta's gauntlet weapon. And it's even able to, when Yuta uses it, draw a whole bunch of juice straight out of Ryu. But it doesn't seem to have that burst effect. It seems to have literally a shattering effect. It's an eternal damage type of attack. It's a durability negation, don't get me wrong, in a similar vein to Soul Split Katana. But even if Earl were to just straight Thin Icebreaker, actually is a very similar motion to the Kamehameha, now that I think about it. But Thin Icebreak directly at Akari's head, I think it would burst. Like, it would kind of do the thing it did against Kashimo, where the energy like starts to reflect outwards, but then Hakari just immediately heals it off and his face recoalesces. I don't think it would actually do that much, if any, permanent damage. And I don't think it's fast enough an attack. Once again, that's just a lack of showings for that attack, though. We don't really have any idea how it would work. It's specifically used on the brain, because we just don't get to see it, and it's hard to assume based on the damage we see it do to characters like Ryu and characters like Yuta. It's just unfortunate. A character who may actually have a pretty decent chance depending on how they use their abilities? I know this is going to sound weird, but Kururushi may actually have a chance. And the reason I say this is because with the Life Festering Blade, if Kururushi, like, Hakari's neck is thick, don't get me wrong, bro is very, very beefy. But, like, if he swings the Life Festering Blade, do I have an equivalent to the Life Festering Blade? I do not have an equivalent to Life. That thing looks weird. But, like, let's use Rita for example. The Life Festering Blade has those 3 or 4 pores on it along its center. If one of those pores, which is like this big, goes straight for Hakari's neck, and then the bugs burst out from either the other side or from those holes, it's possible that his head may fall off. It just depends on how big you think the bug bursting is going to be. If you think the bug only bursts out one side and his head is still connected, his body will likely RCT through it. And the RCT that comes from it will likely insta-give any of the bugs that exist, because they are constructs of cursed energy. But if you think the burst can happen and the automatic RCT wouldn't insta-give the bugs, Kururushi's bursting bug attack from the Life Festering Blade may actually be enough to just... But the only reason I'm a little bit hesitant against that is we see the second Kururushi come in and swing on Earl's arm, and we see multiple bugs pop out, but Earl's arm very specifically stays on. It's Rika who has to come in and combo afterwards to bite on and rip it off. So Kururushi would have to do a combo move. Kururushi would have to grab Hakari's head, swing the life festering blade, have the bugs inject, have the bug explode, and then try to rip off the rest of Hakari's head. Kurushi is decently physically strong. We see it go a bit relative with Yuta Akutsu, a special grade sorcerer. So maybe you could argue it's strong enough to do that, but I'm gonna leave it so that Kurushi can, for the sake of my sanity. But another character from Sendai who actually stands a pretty good chance of executing Hakari Kinji is not Drew, but Ryu Ishigori. And the reason I say that is because Ryu Ishigori is stated to have the highest cursed energy output of all the characters in the Killing Games. Now, unfortunately, this does exclude characters like Sukuna, but then Sukuna falls under the whole, like, in recorded history, that Kenjaku makes later during the Kashimo fight. But that's irrelevant, because Kashimo is a part of the Killing Games. You know what that means. If Kashimo is part of the Killing Games, that means his cursed energy discharge, his cursed energy output, which is the lightning bolt, the negatives and the positives being placed and being launched between by Kashimo, that would fall beneath Granite Blast. And the thing about the lightning bolt that made it so hard for it to get rid of Hakari is that the lightning bolt that went to his head was small, pinpointed, and it went to detonate his brain. Ironically enough, the lightning bolt at the start that just tore Hakari's arm off, if aimed for Hakari's neck, likely would have done much better at popping his head straight off. But for Ryu Ishigori, like, I think his blast is like the perfect size. Like, Yuta goes to palm it, and he palms it successfully, but his hand gets charred. So if you think, here's the thing. If you think that Hakari is more durable than Yuta, then it's likely the Granite Blast would not work unless Ryu sat there and charged it for a minute. But if you think Hakari is less durable than Yuta, due to him not being able to control the boundless cursed energy as well as Yuta can, and you go with the idea that the bolt should fall underneath the idea of the Granite Blast because they're both types of cursed energy output or discharge, then you could argue Hakari's head just gets vaporized. He could just... Especially if Ryu does that massive blast from the start that I don't think we ever see him do again. That massive blast that he does at the start and Hakari is just standing there, it could vaporize his whole top off. Like pretty much how Goku did Perfect Cell with the instant transmission Kamehameha. If that fully powered Granite Blast gets launched off and just vaporizes the entire top part of Hakari falls. But if you think Hakari's more durable, which I tend to lean to, maybe he'd live it. Maybe he'd just take it. Maybe burn his face a bunch. Maybe burn the front half of his brain. But if you just able to palm not fully charged Granite Blast, I'm not sure. It's weird. Which do you think is stronger? The big one that he fired at the start of the battle? Or the individual ones we see later? Because the individual ones are only capable of charring Yuta and like destroying his hand. And presumably Hakari's head would be just as durable as Yuta's hand, if not more durable. So Ryu's a bit up in the air. If you think Ryu can just vaporize, then Ryu vaporizes. And Hakari. If you don't think Ryu vaporizes, then Hakari. Another character from the Killing Games who will ultimately... Can they do it? I think so. I think Yorozu could do it. Mainly with Perfect Spear. I don't think any of Yorozu's basic punches are going to do anything. I don't think a swing from the bug armor or her liquid metal. Like, maybe she like stuff the liquid metal in his face and like nostrils and like try to detonate him like that. Maybe. But it would be Perfect Spear. Most likely that would just ominously float towards Hakari as he's dancing. And then the infinite pressure hitting would just his head right off. If the spear, once again, going back to the old example of this being Hakari's head, and instead of Maximum Meteor, it's Perfect Spear, the infinite pressure makes contact with Hakari's head and just tears it right off. So I think Perfect Spear would do enough of a number on Hakari that it would really matter. He's not living that one. Another Culling Games participant, well, actually, no. Can Kenjaku do it? How strong do you think Maximum Uzumaki is? How strong? Because I don't think Domain would do it. I actually don't think Domain would take out Hakari. He'd be like, ah, boom. And then he would get back up, and then the next sure hit with him, ah, boom. I don't think it's like detonating his entire brain. I don't think any of the cursed spirits that Kenjaku has shown would be able to do it either. Gravity itself obviously isn't going to do it. So it would have to be Maximum Uzumaki. So what do you think is more durable? Yuki's stomach? Or Hakari's head. If you think, but then again, like, a Mahito fueled Maximum Uzumaki was able to be face tanked, or not face tanked, but was able to be guarded by Kusakabe of all characters, a grade 1. But at the same time, many Uzumakis are strong enough to tear through a special grade social like Yuki Tsukumo. Sure, you can definitely argue Yuki was lower on cursed energy, and thus like her reinforcement may have dropped. But But I'd say Maximum Uzumaki is stronger than Maximum Meteor. If he does the same thing that he did in JJK0 and he loads up a whole bunch of cursed spirits, I think he could blast Hakari's head off. I think that's reasonable. It would do enough. Same thing for JJK0 Geto. Same thing for Yuta. I do think Yuta has a couple ways. Not a couple. I think it is mainly just that big Giga Blast that'll just hopefully vaporize Hakari's head. Especially if you think Hakari's less durable than Yuta, that should do the number. That should do the trick to vaporize Hakari's brain. So I think that's another good one. I think Yuta's good. Oh, Yuki Tsukumo herself, she punches his head off. Quite literally. Oh, yeah. And if that doesn't work, drop a black hole on him. Sure, it takes her out too, but hey, Hakari's immortal, but he ain't black hole immortal, you know? Like, I generally think a black hole would just take him out. But I do straight up think, especially considering the fact that Kenjaku, a character who in my opinion should be just as bulky as Yuta based on how much cursed energy he uses, if both of his arms were just torn straight through by a regular punch, I'm not chopping off my own arms. I cannot grow them back. My name's not Hakari Kinji. But if she was able to just boom straight through him and make contact with Kenjaku's jaw and should have knocked his head off, then I think she should likely knock Hakari's head off with a punch too. Or she could use Garuda and just like try to decapitate him with a nice clean swing to the neck. I don't think Hakari's living that one. And I think I've hit a lot. Oh, well, let's talk about Kashimo. Kashimo's weird, right? Because we see it. We see Hakari survive Kashimo. But the question is, that beam that he fired, we don't see it hit Sukuna, though. That's the only thing. We don't see it hit Sukuna. But Sukuna very specifically doesn't allow himself to get hit. But is that just a, I'm styling on you because I can thing? Or is that a, I don't want to get hit by that attack because it could actually do damage thing? That's the same issue we run into with Jogo. We don't know if it would have actually done damage. But going back to the description of that ability, let me read it verbatim from Viz. I want to see what Viz says in particular about that scan. Hold on. Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 238. What is the statement about the irradiated beams? Because I think maybe it's enough, because they seem sizable, that they could vaporize. Improved agility due to the increased electric signals in the brain, sound waves that optimize the natural frequencies, electromagnetic waves that vaporize radiated objects. So, if that electromagnetic wave attack, specifically the one he shows in 238, where it's big enough that it seems like the one he fires at Sukuna, that he fires with both hands. Mythical Beast Amber Kashimo fires with both hands. If that hits Hakari, considering it seems like it's almost a pseudo durability negation thing, where it's like it's using electromagnetic waves, it's not just an energy beam, I think that could actually vaporize Hakari's head. I think that's how Kashimo could get rid of Hakari. Because we know the bolts don't really work. I hate to say it, but they don't. We've literally seen a bolt straight to Hakari's head and it failed because he just sneezed the electricity out. So I don't think Hakari's fallen to that one. And then, I mean, I have yet to mention them, but I'll cover the big three here at the end. Am I missing any other characters? I mentioned Rose. I mentioned all four of the special grades. I mentioned the disaster curses. I mentioned Yuji. I mentioned Toji. I mentioned Maki. Let me double check that list. Ume is a weird one. If you think Ume can send an ice blade that's long enough and sharp enough and fast enough to decapitate Hakari, then Hakari is decapitated. But Maharaga would probably adapt to the immortality somehow. Like legit, Maharaga would hit him, and let's say for some reason Hakari's able to tank it, right? Let's say Hakari's able to tank the first, and Maharaga would be like, okay, hit him again, because Hakari's not fighting back in this scenario. He's just testing his immortality. It'd probably be like 6 hits later, and Mahoraga would magically adapt a way to like swing his blade hand in some super fast or super special way that just immediately decapitates Hakari and turns off his immortality because it's Mahoraga. Mahoraga can do basically anything. Sukuna, well, I guess I should mention the second to Sukuna before I mention Sukuna himself. Yeah, Hollow Purple takes Akari's head right off. Shock horror. If it's able to vaporize 20-finger Meguna's arms and is attempted or stated to be fatal to a fatigued 20-finger Meguna, yeah, a purple's gonna take. It may just vaporize all of Hakari, not just his head, but if aim for the head, it's gonna take Hakari out. And then finally, Sukuna space slashes him. If Cleave won't do enough because of the amount of curse energy Hakari has, and the universe is like, no, infinite is greater than limited, then he simply space slashes Hakari's head off. Head falls, Hakari's gone. So Hakari, he's relatively immortal. Don't get me wrong. He definitely is somewhat like that, just a teeny tiny bit. But he's not 100% like that. He's not purely like that. He is that guy, but he's not that much that guy. He still can fall. However, that's what I think. If you guys think I missed any characters, feel free to leave them down below. If you guys think I mentioned some characters who shouldn't be able to do it, feel free to correct me. This is definitely a much more discussion-heavy video where I actually do want to see what you guys think. If there are characters with specific kits that you think could take out Jackpot Hakari, specifically when he's immortal, please let me know in the comment section down below. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave Hakari the Undead, because we're in the middle of October, why not? Hakari the Undead in the comment section down below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a Patreon down below. Resource for as low as one, count them one. Now, things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. And also, now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Some of those perks will include the live reaction to chapter 239 when it drops. Now, I want to thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our $3 members, Wakanda Plays, Red Wolf 4765, and Burp Skills. I'd like to give another very big thank you to our $5 patrons, Sean, Midnight Gemlord, Kevin, and Demex LND. And I'd like to give a fat, hefty thank you to our $10 patrons, Robbie Uchiha, Joaquin, and Idemokami. And I'd like to give another hefty, thank you to our $25 member, Alex Ice Rose. And another big fat scrumdiddlyumptious thank you to our $25 patrons, Igneal and Calvin Elder.